Welcome to my Sorare Journey, episode 85, where today I want to talk about winning on Sorare. Now you can argue about the differences between what actually classifies as winning on Sorare, but for me, and I think the majority of other people, it's getting a positive return on the amount of money you've put into the platform. Yes, going and winning a competition would be lots of fun, but if you spent far more than you're going to win in terms of rewards, I don't think people would find that fun. I don't think overall that would be classified as winning. And I've given myself the ability to talk about winning purely because I've finally had a good score. It just makes no sense if you're talking about it and you've not hit a podium in forever. So today I should be locking up a podium in Bundesliga Division 2. I hit 496 points with this huge Leipzig stack and Pascal Gross, and unfortunately I've been beaten out by two very similar teams. In this case, we've got pretty much the same team swapping Kimmich for Gross and Sesko for Openda, and the guy at the very top, I think he is the top Leipzig collector. I think I'm second. He spent a lot more on his collection though, and he has a full Leipzig stack with Sesko. Now looking at that, it is disappointing for me to have 496 points. I'm in the second Bundesliga. I think if I go up to the first Bundesliga, I would have been first. So, you know, this is a lot of things I see people complain about. Obviously, it's devastating to get that. You know, you hit nearly 500 points and you're not going to pick up a star. You're not going to pick up any cash. I mean, this guy in second, 516 points, and he's not even going to get a star. Now, for me, in this case, I think that's still winning. It's a bit different because the rules have changed since I purchased the team. But what I'm talking about here is division selection, where you put your cards, because although this is a good score, it could be argued that I've not really maximised, and it was a late division switch which has caused me not to maximise. I'd like to hear your thoughts on whether you think I've got it right or wrong. I'll give you my synopsis on why I made my choices, but let's talk about first the obvious one, the Division 2 versus Division 1. Now, Leipzig this season haven't been fantastic. I haven't been promoted from Division 2 to Division 1, and I also haven't been relegated from Division 1 to Division 2 as far as I'm aware. The Leipzig stack has just been safe every single game week. They've not put out outstanding scores. As a stack, they've always had someone let them down. You know, I remember specifically they were having a really good game week while I was away in London, and then Willy Orban got a red card, and then it's like, right, you know, lucky to not get relegated in that scenario. And a lot of people here would criticise and say, someone's got 516 points, you've got 500 points, and you're not really getting that good of a reward. We're getting a tier 1 and a big box, which I am actually really pleased with. But, you know, you've beaten first place in Division 1. And for me, what the difference is there is for Sorare and for the game itself, that's how I would want it to play. I don't want someone getting lucky one week and taking home the maximum prize. A fantasy football game is about being good at football. It's not just about running out the same team every week and waiting for them to hit a big score, because that's not strategic at all. Like, we have so much ability to focus on the collection bonus now. Essentially, you have to have collection to get that extra bonus, which pushes everyone to stack. And yes, you can have stacks and semi-stacks and multiple stacks together and stacks with a differential. That's all part of the game. But ultimately, you're running 4 players, waiting for them to have a good week, and maybe you have an extra. That's sort of what I'm doing. So when they have naturally like a team like Leipzig, Bayern, Dortmund, any team in the Bundesliga, they're gonna go and smash someone. But for me, it's far more deserving to get the top prizes. It's every week. You're chopping and changing your team. You're trying to push up the leaderboard. You're trying to avoid getting relegated. So for whoever finished in first place, this small CC guy with a lower score than me, he probably deserves it more. You can see he's not just a full stacker. I assume if I check his gallery, he's going to have, multiple Bundesliga cards. He's got the Dortmund badge, Stuttgart. So this is the sort of guy they should be playing to. Whereas if we look at my selection, I essentially just have one team I can select from, and Pascal Gross, who I was actually happy, made a transfer, so I can use that as a differential. You know, without him, I'd have to use probably Willy Orban, and his score would have dropped me like an extra 25 points, which would be quite substantial. So in terms of, am I frustrated that I put up such a good score and I didn't get the best reward I could have? Of course. Do I think it's fair and good for the game? I do. So covering that point, we'll now move into, where should have I put this team? Because ultimately, this week on Sorare, they had a special division challenge. Top prize would have won $1,500 and a big box. 494 points is currently winning it. So yeah, I would be top of first place here. And the worst part about that is I actually had my team in this division. You know, all you need for it is a holo card or a limited card. I got lucky. I got Kai Havertz as a special edition card. Came out the box. He has a good fixture this week. I was like, right, pretty much full strength into this. I can't remember exactly who I had, but let's say just I went with the same team and swapped out Havertz for Gross. I would have definitely been in first place because I think they've got about the same points. So am I now annoyed that I didn't maximise and get 1,500, which is even probably better than finishing first place in the Bundesliga? Of course, but I think my rationale is sound and I want you to question it on me. In terms of who I'm playing against here, I'm playing against 2,150 people. Now, I've gone to the very upper echelons of how I would have performed this game week. It's like a 1%er where every single player I picked scored well. They all got decisives. I even had a penalty save. But if you look at your average score is probably going to fail you with maybe like a solid enough score, which effectively would drop me down so significantly that I think the Bundesliga second division would have actually been better. You know, when I was looking at this lineup and I saw, you know, who can you play in this? I was like, well, you can play any team on Sorare, really. And I was looking at Celtic. Obviously, I'm a Celtic fan. I knew this year in the league, we should just absolutely dominate. We look sensational in the first half of the season. You know, I really can't see anyone beating us I really can't see anyone beating us, Rangers included. Now, this can all change. Players get injured. You know, form goes out the window. All of that stuff. But I'm playing against them. I'm playing against PSV. I'm going to play against Real Madrid, who I don't think have played this game week. There's so many different selections that can come and beat you in this league. Whereas if you look to the Bundesliga, and unfortunately, like I said, I'm only in the second Bundesliga, there's not much I can do about that. With, you know, the limited number of players I have, I need Leipzig to do well. They hadn't done until this game week. And you're looking at it, and it's, you know, 4 times less the amount of people you're competing against. And then you've got to think, right, in that selection, let's go through the teams that are playing. You know, Celtic, I don't know who PSV are playing this week, but they always smash someone. Celtic, PSV, Madrid, you know, Arsenal, they're all going to be your top selections of clubs for this week. And it's like, okay, well, do you fancy beating them? Do you think your, you know, Leipzig stack has a better chance than them? Probably not. And then I compare myself in the Bundesliga selection, and the best teams I can come up against are Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, and Bayer Leverkusen. Well, 2 of them are playing each other, which pretty much nullifies their chance of a big score because usually both teams will score. Of course, there's times where, you know, Bayern could have won that game 3-0 and they put up a massive score. They get, you know, defensive returns. Fine. But ultimately, the only worry I had was Borussia Dortmund. And Dortmund, I had one of their key players. Pascal Gross is one of the top performers at Dortmund. Yes, you'd probably want Guirassy, who I think first place has or second place has. Or maybe someone below me had him. But anyway, the fact is, I had partially Dortmund cover, and I could also beat the Leipzig stacks by, you know, if they had Benjamin Sesko. Benjamin Sesko at home to Augsburg, I think that is, or Pascal Gross at home to Bochum. You know, thinking about that, pre-match, I probably still would have put Pascal Gross and Kimmich, who second place had against Bayer Leverkusen. Again, it's a pretty close toss-up, you know. I've gone in at a significantly cheaper price. I got my Pascal Gross for about £60 or... Actually, no, I spent a little bit more, but he's far cheaper than Joshua Kimmich, and he's probably about the same price as Sesko. So looking at them, I'm in a really good spot. I just got a little bit unlucky. You know, as lucky as my team did, I asked Xavi at half-time to get a goal. We got a goal and assist, a 90-pointer. You know, he assisted my striker. I got an assist from my defender. I got a goalkeeper save. All of that is luck. But that final element of luck, being in the top division or having your differential outperform the other stacks, it just didn't happen. And that's c'est la vie, you know, that's life. You know, that's nothing to complain about. I think ultimately I've got lucky, just not lucky enough to get something, you know, higher. So it's about your division selections. When you're selecting your divisions, obviously a top week, you go in the highest division you can. I was in that and here. But you also want to minimise the number of teams you're playing against. But not just that, consider the teams and think, where does this selection line up in terms of favourable fixtures? You know, So you can look at the betting odds. That's the easiest way. You'll see, the lower the odds they are, the more likely they are to win. Celtic would have been lower odds than Leipzig, Dortmund, and all the other teams. I think you're getting the point now, but it's like, I was unlucky in this selection. I really can't believe that more stronger teams didn't go into this limited edition, challenge for a bit of money here. Like, if you've got an old Celtic stack like last season, why is it not going here? Same as PSV. I'm sure this score will probably push up by the end of the day. We're probably only half finished. So I hope and I expect that my 496 wouldn't have got me first place. And then as you're dropping down the leaderboard now, you can see that, my tier 1, probably $300 to $200 is what I'd expect. Should we have a check on who we could win? Because that's always fun. And I've also got another big team cooking. You'll see it's a limited giveaway on Twitter if it all goes well for me. Support the channel, support the boys. But yeah, taking a look at the tier 1 pool. Before I click this, there is a player I want, and it's pretty obvious. Benjamin Sesko. He fits the team completely. He would give me an in-season version, which maybe I don't want. Maybe I sell, downgrade, whatever. But if he's a tier 1, it would complete my Leipzig stack. But probably I should want a differential, so let's see who's in there. Tier 1s, Granit Xhaka would be huge. Joshua Kimmich, Openda, Boniface. Yeah, so we're hoping to get one of these top guys. We're getting the second best one, which can always drop you down. Kevin Stroger, Brandt, Kim Min-jae starting for Bayern, Upamecano. Sesko is in the pool. Leroy Sané, don't want Van der Vaart. Another Van der Vaart would be killer. In terms of what we missed out on in the stars, yeah, you're getting your Kane, your Musialas, your Kobels, who I've won before, just before in the internationals. What was it? The Euros. Wirtz, Elise, I would have loved back, but he's a star. Pascal Gross. I think this can change slightly, but ultimately, yeah. If you're looking at this, and like I said before, Gross is a star who I had, and Kimmich. Yeah, so like I was saying before, the pre-game, I had the best selection. Pascal Gross is a star, and the tier 1s, Kimmich and Sesko outscored me. And that just happens, That's football at the end of the day. So let's see who will win at the end of the game week. I'll probably do maybe a little live stream. Let me know what you want to see, videos, live streams, depends on work, how busy I am. But we also have a selection here. Now, this one is much easier to enter when you talk about winning on Sorare, which is, the synopsis of this video, everything I want to talk about. This is actually an interesting play because I'm in my first division. I've got my best cards out. Well done, Alex. You've picked the best possible team you can. I've only got like 7 starters in season, so you could have swapped Alisson and, I don't know, Kai Havertz, but then you lose a team. All of that stuff, potential. But I'm in Division 1, and I don't want to get relegated from Division 1 because, in my opinion, it's the best division, the most rewarding, especially in season. But the key point here is that being in Division 1 isn't luck. It's also skill in itself, where I obviously realised that when my two teams are playing each other, and I didn't actually think Matoma to Ipswich was that strong of a fixture, that I don't want to risk being relegated. So this is the other part of winning where, yes, you want to go out and maximise your returns when you're having a good game week. But when you're having a bad game week, you need to protect yourself on the downside. And yes, Saka's probably got the ability to score more points in this fixture. But Romero, on average, will be the safer selection because he doesn't need a goal or assist, which is going to boom or bust his score. He's always going to be pretty much there. He's going to get defensive actions. So even in Division 4, I was playing it safe, and I think I got promoted in the end, which is good in there. I just picked up a reward box, which, over the season, Arsenal's going to play Man City twice. They're going to play Spurs twice, maybe Liverpool as well. Let's say 6 weeks. I'm not going to be maximising my returns where, let's say, Arsenal go and smash Man City 4-0 or smash Liverpool 3 or 4-0. Yeah, I'm not going to have the best potential rewards I can that week. But the likelihood is it's going to be a close game. One of them's going to win by 1 goal. And the scores aren't going to, the stack scores aren't going to be significant enough to win anything substantial. So you've got to be aware that winning on Sorare is, of course, luck elements. Like I've shown before, I got lucky and unlucky in this game week. But don't underestimate the skill elements of divisions where when you're having a bad game week, you've got to be careful. If there is doubts in your teams, for example, now this is my classic team, It was last weekend. Obviously, Alisson was the big risk. But, you've got to be careful thinking, well, I don't know if he's going to play. Do I go and put them in? Ultimately, in this game week, I think I wasn't too far away from getting relegated, so I was pretty safe. But in the classic divisions, it's again the same selection. Do you want to play there? Do you want to play against these sort of teams? The general rule of thumb for me is always minimize the number of teams you're playing against as long as it doesn't weaken the team you're putting out. So, for example, I could run this team into Champion Europe and mix it with this Leipzig stack. Ultimately, it's better for me in this scenario to have two separate teams, because obviously Champion Europe, you then bring in La Liga, so you're bringing in Barca, you're bringing in Real Madrid, you're bringing in your PSGs. So it's easier and better to narrow down who you're playing against, and then it's easier to track who you're playing against, because a team like Stuttgart could have a random fixture, or Real Betis could have a great fixture, which, as someone that's not fully devoted to the game, you can't, put all of your hours into it. It's harder to spot. Of course, people that do it full time or have like hundreds of thousands in there, they're going to know every single fixture. But as a more casual user, which is obviously what I'm transitioning to, or am at the moment, I'd say, you want to just, know your league. So Premier League, I know who's going to have a good fixture. It will be everywhere in the news. I'll be playing it on fantasy football. I'll be playing it on Sorare. That is far easier for me to know, and to also know who to differentiate against, because I think that's an important one if you're stacking. I should probably talk about a little bit on captain selection, because my captain selections are very different to most people on the game. And again, it's something you might say is right or wrong. In this case, are you captaining Saka at home or Salah away? It's probably guaranteed Saka at home. He's probably set and forgetting all those fixtures. But when it comes to more difficult game weeks, there was a really interesting one a few game weeks ago where, say here, for example, obviously Salah is the obvious selection here, at home to Bournemouth or Porro at home to Brentford. And I went for Porro for two reasons. Firstly, it's obvious. If it's obvious, everyone on the game is going to be doing it. So what this means is that if Liverpool go and whomp Bournemouth 3-0, which a lot of people expected, you know who's going to be at the top of the leaderboard? Probably all of the Liverpool stacks. Okay, Chelsea did whomp someone that game week as well, which was nice of them. But yeah, SR Monkey guaranteed to have some form of Liverpool stack. Now, weirdly enough, he's a very smart player in the game himself. I guess he wanted to adapt differential against Liverpool stacks. I don't know his complete selection, but I assume he just thought that, if he just runs, Maddison's probably a better selection than Gravenberch or Diaz, which in that case I don't think it was, because Diaz popped off, did he? Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that in these scenarios, if Liverpool do go and whomp someone, all the stacks are going to be ahead of you. So captaining Salah isn't the option. Whereas in my team, it's a Spurs. It needs Spurs to win, and to win well, to do well. So yes, on average, you'd probably be better captaining Salah. But in this game, you also need to swing for the fences, because the top prizes are so much more rewarding than the minimal prizes here. So another part about winning on Sorare is to swing for the fences when your chances are there, to put them in the right division, and to also minimise the amount of teams that you're playing against, to, just control the number of variables that can go wrong or can go right. So overall, this is how it's looking for me this game week. It's been very positive. In terms of, next game week, we're looking at internationals, which I do actually have a decent enough team for. I don't know if Ben White's going to be fit. And thankfully, Spurs play in the same game week as well, but they could heavily rotate. I doubt Romero gets a game. So, yeah, we're looking pretty good. The big, if my luck's in today, if everything goes right, I can actually return my full cost of my in-season cards in one game week. Now that is a very lucky position to be in. I could win $3,000, which is actually more than I've spent on my whole team. I feel, not to boast too much when I've not done anything significant, but I feel like I'm making every right step this season, for a casual player. I'm buying the right players at the right time. I'm not, piling in. Like Ben White, for example, I needed an Arsenal defender. I'll show you this just quickly to finish off. But, I've been waiting for Ben White or an Arsenal defender, Gabriel, to become a reasonable price. He's starting at 150, 200. He's dipping down to 150. I picked him up for 77 on like he missed, 1.5 games effectively. And why that's key is because most people on Sorare, and this is 100% myself, was it this midweek? No, it was the midweek before, where Arsenal are playing in the Champions League. You've got 4 players that are guaranteed to pretty much play, might put up a good score. Most of your Sorare players will go out, get a Ben White, get a Gabriel, get a Salah for that week. But look at the teams you're playing against. You're playing against Atalanta away. The team's probably not going to rip a big score, even if it is Arsenal. So for this one, I put in Zinchenko, who was the most likely option to play out of him and Kieran Tierney, who both pretty much had a 0% chance of playing. And I didn't really care, because what I have missed out on here, maybe a box, probably missed out on nothing, but what I gained is that in that week, I've probably saved myself £77. And that's the sort of, right steps I've been making. At the same time, this isn't just let's wait as long as possible. Sometimes you need to bite the bullet and get the best players early. And that's what I did with Saka. I got him for 989. He hasn't sold. His last sale was above that. And I've had like 4 or 5 game weeks of earning little bits of cash and boxes here and there. So ultimately, that's really good. One more thing is I finally saved up all of my essence and I've actually spent it. And I'll run the clip now. I was on holidays. I didn't want to vlog it. Didn't want to make a big thing out of it. But let me know what you think. So a tier 3 plus craft, I got Federico Chiesa. Now, all of my essence is champion, so it doesn't surprise me it's champion. A lot of my teams are Premier League, so it doesn't surprise me it's Premier League. It's good in terms of what I need for my team, but it's bad in terms of the player. Chiesa, I wasn't very happy with, but he does sell for a significant amount of money, £65. Let me know what you think of Chiesa. Ultimately, because he's not going to be a starter, I'm not too happy, but he's probably back up for Salah, who's one of my best players. So I don't know what to do. Obviously, I get 30 collection points. I say as well, my collection is looking very good. Just to finish off here, the rare in season, I've managed to get Arsenal up to 3% with only 7 cards. Obviously, I got quite lucky in my reveals. I've been smart purchasing, I think, everyone except for Rice off the auctions and not for mad amounts of prices. Overall, really happy with that. Spurs as well, 2% with 5 cards. Yeah, I'm really happy with how my Sorare is going. Let me know everything you think. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you enjoyed it. All the best. Cheers.